So weird. First time I've ever been trying, huh?
Just do the damn thing.
Just do the damn thing. All right, guys. Well, welcome. Like I said, this is the first time we're doing this in 3 different mediums at the same time. We've got about 5 people here live in class. We've got people on Zoom, and then we've got people on Facebook Live. So this is just something I want to try so we can get more people included in what we're doing. And then what's cool about this is if we can pull this off, we'll be able to start inviting agents from some other offices to join our classes through Zoom. Because if they're not on the Alliance Home Team Facebook page, they wouldn't be able to see this. So this will be cool. So this is, I call this straight out of comps. So comping is probably one of the most important things that you're going to have to learn to do when it comes to real estate. I mean, it's so ridiculously important to know how to value a property for multiple reasons. Now, you two in the back, I have, give me some, what are your names and how long you guys been in real estate?
My name is Jonathan. I'm relatively new. I did timeshare. I have my own business, but I'm all new. So.
Okay, so I got Jonathan in the back, new from timeshare. What about you?
Kiara, I'm also new from timeshare.
Okay, Kiara is also at the back, new from timeshare. So that's awesome. So let me ask you guys, since you're new, not some of my veterans over here, they're just going to start stealing the show. Got Eddie Torres and Brooksy in the house. So tell me the reasons why it would be valuable to know how to value a property properly. Who are the people? What people?
The buyer.
The buyer. So if you're working with a buyer, you want to know what the real price of the property is, or what you should offer, in other words. What else, Kiara?
I just think to give them an accurate of what to expect, and for the buyer to know where he's standing, what to expect of the property, how much he's gonna spend on everything.
Right. And so that you're saying with the buyer?
Yeah.
Well, who else do we work with that might think this is important? Sellers. Who else? Kind of a trickier one. That's it.
Investors.
Say that again.
Investors.
Investors. That's Ben and the crowd over there. So exactly right, investors. So this, with every type of person you work with, this is a valuable skill. If you're working with a buyer, like you said, it's important to understand what you need to offer. Because as you know, there's some agents out there that are not, don't know what the hell they're doing. So they will have a seller push them to overprice a property, which is, I'll go over this many times today about how detrimental that is to your client, not just to you, to your client, to overprice a property. So some of these agents either don't know how to do this, or they're letting a seller let them overprice it because the seller is insisting that their house should be the same as Susie's down the street. And they're just pulling these numbers completely out of their ass, right? There's an art and a science to this. And if you're not doing what I'm going to show you today, you're literally just pulling numbers. When it's like a seller's like, well, I think it should be worth this. I'm like, well, why not $1 million? I mean, if we're just going to be choosing numbers, right? So it's important. And I'm going to tell you why it's important, okay, in a second. So when you're working with buyers, you want to know what to offer. Let's figure out, hey, is this the right price for the property, right? And you don't want your buyer overpaying, and you don't want to have appraisal issues during this anyway. Even if your buyer's willing to overpay, do you want to get into a transaction where your appraisal doesn't come out and now your financing's not going to work out? And now you're in you're going back and forth with the listing agent on what to do. Number 2 is sellers, right? So we're going to be talking, I think this month we got multiple classes on listings, which is something we have seen a drastic uptick in this office in particular with listings, and I'm super excited about it because listings are one of the best ways to increase your business because 1, you're going to get guaranteed commission if you do what I'm showing you how to do today. But 2 is deals get deals. You'll be able to do open houses. You'll be able to get more clients from a listing. So it's not just about the 3% or the 6% you make. It's about all the new buyers you're going to get in. And open houses are one of the best ways to do that when you have a listing, right? And then the other way is with working with investors, okay? So if you're working with an investor and you want to be what I call an investor agent, right? Somebody who an investor can count on to give them accurate numbers, to give them good sound advice as to, is this a good buy for you or not? Well, we're going to have to know what the numbers are. And there's no way to know what the numbers are until you get your baseline number of what will this property be worth. So let's say it's a fix and flip investor, right? Somebody who's going to buy a property that has issues or is distressed is going to fix it up and flip it. The one number that they're going to ask you for, right, is something called ARV, which is after repair value. ARV. Write that down, guys. If you don't know, you don't work with investors, you're going to hear that a lot. ARV is after repair value. You know what that means? What's the comp? That's all that means. What's the comp when this thing is all fixed up, right? So these are all valuable things that you're going to want to do. And by the way, I do this a little bit differently. I get a little bit more in depth. So I want you guys to start. We're going to do some live comps today. So I'm going to need, Celeste, you're going to have to be on your game on Zoom. If anybody on Zoom, if anybody on Facebook has a property you want me to comp, now comps, because I teach through it, they're going to take a while. So I might be able to get through 2 or 3. Okay. So just put the addresses. Do you have a listing right now? Do you have a purchase with a buyer right now? Let's do this live so that you guys can see how I do it, because I do it a little bit differently. So here's the deal. There's a lot of systems out there. Okay. Well, first of all, clients look at all sorts of crap, right? They're going to look at Zestimates. They're going to look at all that stuff. Us as agents, we have a lot of tools with an MLS. We have one of the best MLSs, by the way, of anywhere in the country. Not just in Florida, but anywhere in the country. We have some of the best tools. It's the easiest to navigate. This is a true factual thing. So we have all these great tools, but when it comes to valuing a property, what I don't like about tools is I don't know how they're doing it. They just spit out numbers. You know, I mean, they tell you, I looked at this property, but they're not telling me why. They're not telling me, you know, if they took some kind of roundabout kind of area, right? Because I'll show you in this. I don't like to take like a circle, like, or a radius type of search, because you can do that on the MLS. I'll show you. You can do a little circle and you can say, what's that? 2 already? Okay, when it's time, I'll get with you. You know, when you draw a circle around something, let's say I draw a 1/4 mile circle around the property and say, I want to do the comps on this property. Well, what's to say that I didn't catch 3 other neighborhoods besides the one that I'm in with this random circle that I took, right? So the neighborhood next door is brand new. Construction was built a couple years ago. Those houses are going for 500. My neighborhood's from the 1980s, and it's, you know, 250 is the max that they've sold. And now I'm lumping in some other property from some other neighborhood. And that's why I don't use these systems, because I don't know what they're doing, right? They could give you a random number. And the things that I'm going to teach you today are going to let you get a little bit more granular about, you know, what we're looking at. So I look at it like this. I look at it like you're being a detective, and you're going to look at a bunch of different clues, right? There's not like this isn't a math problem. It isn't 2 + 2 = 4. It's like basically there's some math and then there's some art, right? It's almost like I said, it's like a detective. He comes on the scene, right? And he doesn't know exactly what happened, but he starts looking at clues, right? He sees, you know, by the way, guys, I've been watching a lot of murder shows lately, a lot of murder shows. I don't know why. I'm hooked on this show called Homicide Hunters. Feel free to watch it. The smoothest detective I've ever seen, this guy named Joe Kenda, neither here nor there. But he pulls up to the scene and he can look at a bunch of different things. And although he wasn't there, although he doesn't know exactly what happened, he can start putting a picture together. Hey, I see blood spatter over here. You know, hey, this guy didn't get stabbed here. He got stabbed over here. You can see they dragged him. You know, like little things that pick him up. Well, the same thing with comps. I'm going to be looking at about 50 different things, and I'm going to be looking at all these little things, and I'm going to start creating a picture of what happened here or what's going to happen here. Okay. So that's where we're at with that. So let's see if this will work here. Will this switch my screen? I hear it. Okay, let's just switch it. All right, so once again, guys, your toolbox, these are the things we'll be using today. So make sure you have these tabs open. Once again, I'm gonna sit down in a minute and we're gonna go through these things live. So you're gonna wanna have your matrix open, your Imap open, and your Google Maps open. If you don't know how to do that, I'll show you in a minute, but you have a dashboard that has all those tools in it, okay? And you'll have those 3 things open. And this is obviously the toolbox that we need. Matrix obviously is where we're going to see what sold properties are, what active properties are, what pending properties are, and all the clues that it'll have there. Imap is a public records software that we have access to. I love it. You know, it's way better than just going individually to each property appraiser site. It basically has all the property appraiser sites, so I can see beds, baths, you know, what it was bought for, you know, who the owner is, and I can see school information, flood zone information. I see everything. How many, you know, how big the lot is. So Imap is your friend. You guys are you want to start getting used to looking things up on Imap so you can get a better picture of what's going on with properties, in particular when you're dealing with sellers, because oftentimes you don't have the information before you go. So, you know, you could have a phone call with someone, hey, before I arrive, I'm looking up on public records. I just want to double check. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, right? It's 2240 square feet. Fantastic. Says here it was built in 1984. Is that correct? Great. So you have all these, I call them specs, right? They're what the property, you know, what the property features are, so that I can compare apples to apples. Because comping is not just this one sold, mine sold, we're in the same neighborhood, fine, great. No, because we don't know the circumstances of that. We don't know what size that home was. You cannot be comparing 1,000 square foot houses to 3,000 square foot houses, okay? And by the way, I'm kind of teaching you how to appraise a little bit, right? You're not an appraiser, but you're gonna kind of know what they do. And one thing they're not gonna do is take 2 homes that are way different size, right? I always say 20% above, 20% below is your range of your square footage, right? So simple terms, if my house is 1,000 square feet, right? I'm looking at houses from 800 to 1,200 square feet for the most part. I give some little leeway, 50 square foot here, 100 square foot, whatever. But keep it in the pocket, because you start going big, your numbers start getting all out of whack. And by the way, an appraiser is not going to do that, right? So you want to also get it right for the appraiser, because there's no point in offering with a buyer, offering something that's not going to get appraised, because you're going to run into a problem down the road. And then Google Maps, I use more, especially with properties, with sellers as well, or with investors. When I haven't been to the property, I like to see what it looks like on the outside. I like to do a little street view. Let me run around. Let me go around the neighborhood a little bit. It's not hard to know what kind of neighborhood it is if you start going up and down the streets, right? You know, there's some neighborhoods, you know, I immediately look at, okay, this is a nice little starter neighborhood, you know, cookie cutter little stucco homes, everything looks perfect. And then there's some areas you're like, okay, 6 cars in the front yard, you know, I see 3 dogs going across the street, unmanned by, you know, you could see it on the street. You're like, okay, this little dicey neighborhood, right? I'm gonna have to make some adjustments here. So that's what we use that for. Okay, so this is the other reason you want to know how to comp, okay? Showing clients how you came up with the value is one of the best ways to show your value, okay? Showing clients how you came up with the value is one of the best ways to show your value. It's letting them know that you've taken the time to research, that you're an intelligent person, that you're not pulling numbers out of your ass, that you have their best interest in mind. And if you can go in there and show them and say, hey, look, this is what I'm looking at, then you're gonna have a way less of a chance that somebody's going to insist on overpricing it, okay? I'm gonna tell you a story about what I just did here in a second with a listing that I just had. And it was a situation where, of course, you know, I'm talking to the guy, I bring my information in, and it's his mother's house. Mother's in the 90s, been living in this house 30 years. There's a lot of emotional attachments to homes, right? People see their own value in the home. It's theirs, right? You know, they remember when they put up those drapes. They remember all that. So they want to value all that and lump it into a price as if they were the ones buying this property again. No, it's not true. So in talking with the guy, he's telling me, oh, well, my mother thinks this, and that. And I'm like, I understand that. But let me tell you what could happen if we do that. And by the way, guys, I want to teach you this right off the rip, okay? Especially for you new people, because I know I've done this wrong before. Everything that I'm telling you, I've already done wrong for you. I'm telling you to do it right. Do not take an overpriced listing. Stand your ground. Stand your ground on the price. Trust and believe. Having listings that just sit there and sit there and sit there makes you look bad, and they will blame you. Even if you told them that's not what you should have priced it at, they will blame you. And guess what? 6 months are going to pass. You lost 6 months of your life, right? They're going to blame you. They're going to drop the price and give it to another agent, and they're going to make the 3%. Trust me, I've done it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Stand your ground. If somebody's drastically will overprice it, just walk away. It's fine. We don't have to work with everybody. That was going to be a pain in the ass anyway. They're going to go do whatever they do with some other agent who's more desperate, and that agent's going to be the person. Sometimes I tell them, hey, if you're going to do this, hey, I tell them straight up, there's going to be an agent that's going to say they're going to do this for you because they just want to get the listing. I won't do that because it'll lose you too much money. I care about you too much to do that. Okay. But promise me this, if you decide to go with the agent who wants to overprice it, okay, give me the second shot after the 6 months passes. Just will you do that? And I'll keep following up with you every month or so and see what the feedback is. But let me be the second one. I won't be the first one, you know? All right. So here's a little pro tip, guys. I put this up on the screen, so I'll show you how to do this manually in a second. But one thing I like to do on the MLS is you can actually set up your visual display the way you want it to. So when you do a property search, right, there's something called the single line display. It's basically a list of all properties all in one line. It's this right here, okay? It's this on the bottom right here. And this single line display is how I can easily kind of start looking at numbers. It helps me see what I want to see, okay? When I'm looking at these properties. I mean, you're gonna look in depth into each one of these listings, right? We'll do that today. But this display is important to me because I wanna see the important things that I think are important. One of the most important things are gonna be sold price per square foot, list price per square foot. When I can get it down to price per square foot, I can start comparing apples to apples. In other words, if I have a house that's 1,000 square feet and I have a house that's 1,200 square feet, okay, I can't just price them the same because they're different square footages. But if I get it down to the price per square foot, I can multiply this number by the square footage and compare apples to apples. So I can take the price per square foot from the 1,200 square foot property, and now I multiply that by 1,000 square feet, and now I'm starting to get some calculations and some numbers in my head. Okay, and that makes sense. Okay, so step one, we talked a little bit about it, is we're gonna have to know what the property specs are, right? What are the beds, the baths, the square foot heated, the year built, exterior construction, acreage, pool, and where would I find that? I mentioned that, Jonathan. Where could I find that? Imap, exactly right. So especially for sellers. Now, if you're looking for a buyer and the property's listed, you don't necessarily have to go through the Imap process, because guess what? When you pull up your search, you're going to get your property in that search that's listed. So you'll see all the specs for that property. You'll see the beds, baths, acreage, year, and all that. But for a listing presentation, or for working with a property that's not listed, an off-market property, you don't know anything until you go into Imap and you figure out beds, baths, square foot heated, year built, exterior construction, in other words, block, wood frame, acreage, does it have a pool, does anything need to be replaced, things like that. So if you're talking to a seller, you know, that's a good question to ask, you know, prior to you going to the house. Is there anything you know that needs to be repaired on the home? What's the condition of the roof? What's the condition of the air conditioning? Those are the big major ones. Roof and AC, I always want to know about. And anything else that they're willing to tell me, because that really matters in the price. If they got a roof that's, you know, only got a couple of years of life left, and there's a house in the neighborhood that just sold and it had a brand new roof, I got to make that calculation, right? I have to make that calculation. I have to make that adjustment, if you will. See if this, oh, it worked. Nice. So 2, detective time. You're going to look for clues to get the price. Okay, so what are the clues to look for? So this is where you start showing, you know, your clients how smart you are, right? This is where we start looking at the detective clues and start saying, hey, it's not just because this house next door sold for this. Okay, there's a couple things I'm going to look at. One, days on market, right? So we're going to look at days on market. So this property that sold, let me ask you, Kiara, if I look at a property that's sold, one took 7 days to go under contract and one took 100 days to get under contract, what's the difference there?
One was sold a lot quicker, some days, now they're on 100, so what's wrong with the other one?
Right. She asked the perfect question. What's wrong? What happened? Why did this one sell in 7 days and why did this one sell in 100 days? There's clues that'll let you know why that happened. Often overpricing. it might be a bad agent. You know, how many times have we looked at those pictures on MLS and been like, okay, this is fucking terrible. Like, you know, this is what agents do. They lose people money, right? They overprice it and lose them money. They put terrible pictures up and lose them money. Okay. They list it before they should. When there's a tenant and their tenant could have been out a month. In a month, they listed it with all the tenants crap in there and all that stuff a month before it was ready. And guess what? They didn't get showings for a month. 30 days went by, or it was just too tough to show because of the tenant and working around the tenant or whatever. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. What was the original price? So like I said, that's the first thing I look like when somebody says it's been on the market for 100 and something days. I look down on that listing and I'll see what did they price it at originally. Oh, they were 50 grand over this. They just kept dropping it until they got to a price that somebody would pull the trigger on. And guess what? They probably got less than what they should have because they let their property go stale by overpricing it. Because what do you say? What did you just say to me? What's wrong with it? That's why you don't overprice, guys, because the agent's going to say, the buyer's going to say, what's wrong with it? And if you didn't price it at the right price, guess what? They're going to offer you less than what you should have gotten in the first place. Because there's something wrong. And by the way, seller might be getting desperate too. Right? Maybe they're making 2 mortgage payments right now. Maybe they had to relocate and they're done with this. So now you should have priced it at 300. You went 350. You spent 100 days on the market. I'm not going to offer you 300. I'm going to offer you 280. Congratulations. Your agent just lost you 20 grand by overpricing your property because we thought something was wrong with it. Okay. Price per square foot. We talked about that already, how important that is. We'll go into it. Interior. You know, you like my language, upgraded or shitty, right? So, you know, somebody says, well, this one sold for this. Yeah, but they put 40 grand worth of upgrades in it. You can see right here in these pictures. So you show that to them, say, I can certainly sell that property for $40,000 more, but you're going to have to put $40,000 in. Do you have the money to do that? Do you want to redo the kitchen, redo the floors, take out this stained carpet? Okay, then we have to make an adjustment for that. We can't price it at the same price, right? New replacements, AC and roof, we talked about that. Special circumstances, you know, sometimes things sell in a distress situation. It's not apples to apples. If it's a foreclosure, if it's a short sale, it could be a lower price thing. So I have to look at those situations. Home size differences, we talked about that, 20% below, 20% above. We'll go over that in a second. Acreage, pool versus no pool. The price sold, obviously, we're going to be looking at sold. Who's your competition? I'm going to look at everything. I'm going to look at what's active on the market. So who's my competition, right? So when I do the comp right now, I'm going to look at active, pending, and sold properties. Active is the people on the market right now. They haven't gotten a contract yet, but I can get some clues from that, right? So they're telling me, hey, I want to price mine at 300. Well, Mr. Seller, there's a property that's actually, I wouldn't tell them nicer, but I say this property here looks like it's been remodeled and it's at 275 and it's been on the market for 100 days and it still hasn't sold. And you want to price yours at $325,000 over that. I got to look at that. I'm telling you, you don't want to make these mistakes. And then neighborhood threshold. So this is a term that I came up with because I also look at no matter what the numbers are telling me. So I'm going to do some calculations with price per square foot, whatever. I might come up with a number. So let's say I do come up and say, hey, look, I can justify $300,000 for this home. I can justify it with the numbers and some of the things that have sold. Right? With price per square foot, because you might have a bigger house in the neighborhood or something. And when I do the math, it comes out to 300. But when I look at that neighborhood, nobody in the past 6 months or 12 months has bought a house over $275,000 in that neighborhood. To me, that's a neighborhood threshold. In other words, people are going to look at that price, even though you can justify it. They're going to look and say, hey, why would I want to buy the $300,000 home in a neighborhood that only goes up to $275,000? Like, I don't want to be the highest priced home in this neighborhood. Plus, you start thinking to yourself, hey, for 300 grand, what else could I buy? Am I going to buy in this used neighborhood? Because right across the street, they're building brand new construction. And for 315, I can get everything that I want, brand new, right? So they start making those calculations, right? And that happens too when you overprice. That's a good rebuttal too when somebody's telling you that they should price this thing over and say, look, for that price, I'm going to tell you what they're going to say. They're going to say, I can go buy new construction for that price, right? I can go do this. What are my options at that price, Okay, that's when you're overpricing it. See, is that working? Might be done with this part. Okay, cool. All right, so let's get to the comp portion of the program. So I'm gonna sit down now and let's get into it. So I told you guys we were going to open, small there. So the tabs I told you guys to have open. All right, so let me get something to write with because I'll need to have these addresses, all right? All right, so you looked at both Facebook Live, Celeste, and also on Zoom. All right, who came in first? What was the address?
12015 Fossey Way Street, FOSSEWAY.
Fossey Way Street, Orlando, 1201. You said. Can you ask this person? Is that a listing or for a buyer?
Benjamin's
Ben, what is that? Listing or a buyer?
listing.
Listing. Okay. Cool. So it's a listing. So let's pretend like we haven't seen this property, right? We don't know what the specs are in these properties. So Jonathan, don't got the specs. Where we got to go? Imap. So let's do this. So once again, guys, here's your dashboard, right? So if you guys don't have this, it's dashboard.stellarmls.com, and it'll bring you to all your tools, right? These are all the tools you have access to when it comes to the MLS. The main ones you will use are Matrix, which is MLS, Imap, which is the public records site that we're going to be on, and then Transaction Desk. Transaction Desk is where all your contracts are. So those are the top three. Those are your kind of real estate power tools. I do a class on that too. Those are the kind of your top three. Okay, so let's go to Imap. I've already clicked it, and it's over here. So we're going to look this property up. So pro tip real quick, guys, if you ever look up a property on Imap and it's not showing up, it's one of two things. The first one is usually you didn't put the right county. On the top right here in yellow, okay? You probably didn't put the right county. So you're like, this shit's not showing up. Oh, I'm in Seminole County, not Orange County. Your first culprit, right? The second one is if it doesn't show up, this is a very sensitive system. So be very general about the address. Like I would put 1201 Fossey Way. I wouldn't even put street. I wouldn't put east or west, nothing. Just 1201 Fossey Way. Because sometimes it's just really specific. Sometimes they spell out east, sometimes they don't, or whatever the case may be. So those are your culprits. So I'm going to put it right here in the property address, right? 1201 Fossey Way. 12015.
Yeah.
See? So real quick, let me tell you the story of what happened this past weekend with the listing that I had. And this is why it's so important to do this right, guys. I told you I sat down with a guy. He told me his mom's like, well, I think it should be sold for $475, whatever the case may be. I was like, I'm going to be real with you. I mean, this house had probably $200,000 worth of updating. It's a nice house in a nice lot in a nice neighborhood, but the interior is straight out of the 70s. Like shag carpets. There was brown carpets, there was yellow carpets, there was blue carpets. The kitchen needed to be remodeled. Somebody would probably have to open up the space. There were the masters upstairs with a spiral staircase, all brown carpet up there, had a balcony, wraparound balcony that you could barely stand on. It wasn't stable, but great bones, right? I know that neighborhood pretty well. They got houses in there for $1 million. They got houses in there for $350,000. It's that big of a range. But I told him, I said, whoever going to come in here is going to be a specific type of buyer. Somebody who really wants to be in this neighborhood and is okay with the project, right? So these are things that I'm talking about. So when you're talking to somebody and you're looking at a home, you need to be identifying who you think the best buyer is for this home. because that narrows down my pool. There's not a lot of, not a lot of people have 200 grand sitting in their pocket extra to go do a remodel. Some people are scared of remodels, don't want anything to do with it, right? So I'm looking for a specific person, which means I have to price this more attractively. I can't pretend this shit is not happening. I gotta say, I gotta put this on the market. So what happened? I put it, he's like, oh, she wants 475. He's like, I always thought around 450. I was like, not with the amount of work we're gonna have to put in. I think in order to get the most attention, we're gonna have to be at 399.9, right at 400, okay? To get the maximum attention. Because this is what I want, it's attention and competition, okay? Because if I overprice it and people come in and nobody makes offers, I'm losing leverage every day. Every day it spends on the market, I lose. Something's wrong with it, right, Kiara? I'm losing.
So if you have an old property, how do you deal with clients that are gonna say, why will I put that much money in this property, not just buy a new construction? It will have to be like a really.
You shouldn't have that argument. You know why? Because you would have priced it right. You're going to price it based on what that home is, not on what it could be. And that's what they want. They, oh, well, 475. And this home needs 150 to 200 grand worth of updating. I mean, the house can be moved into, but nobody who's going to spend that kind of money is going to want to live in a house with shag carpets, brown, yellow, whatever, kitchen appliances that look like they're straight from, 1976, like they're not going to do it. Okay. So, you don't have to deal with that if you price it right. Okay. You have to give people what it is, right? So yeah, this house could be 300, but with the amount of work it needs, you might have to price it at 249.9. And that's the conversation you got to have with the seller. So what happened this weekend? Well, one, I did two things right. I priced it right? I'm pricing for competition. Pricing it as high as you want to doesn't take any brains. Like I told you, if you're going to price it at 475, might as well go $1 million. Nobody's gonna put a contract on it, right? So I priced it right for competition, and then I did something that we call the go live system, right? So we put the property on the market, officially listed on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and I funnel all first showings, no matter who calls me, to the first open house on the Saturday that I'm doing, right? So I listed it on a Thursday, phone starts blowing up. I priced it attractively. That's how I know. If you put some property on the market and I don't hear any dings that people are looking at showing instructions, then I didn't do it right. But I started hearing the dings and I was like, yes, I got competition going now. I got people interested. Bing, 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 right? And then they're reading the instructions that the first showings are 24. Most people didn't question it. A couple people called me up. Hey, I really can't make it there with my client this weekend. They're trying to convince me to let them in early. No, I wish I could. I always blame things on the seller. It was all my idea, but I say, well, look, the seller wants first showings on Saturday. I wish I could do something for you. I was like, but feel free to send your client. It's your client. I'm not going to take your client, right? So just tell them to come by the open house if you can't make it. Another guy called me up saying, hey, let me get in before the tire kickers. I live in an area, he's a contractor. He knows what's up. I was like, that's cool, man. Well, the seller doesn't want to show up before that time. They're not ready. So 12 to 4 on Saturday. We'll see you there. Okay. So what happened? I had 27 people show up on Saturday. Had one guy show up with a contract in hand. Okay. Over list price. Okay. So I priced it at $399.9. Got a guy show up over list price for only like $4,000 over list price. Okay. So then 2 other offers come in. So now I got 3-way thing. Now I'm not one of these guys that's just going back. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I want the best people to win. But one thing I do give props to is whoever comes in first too, right? He came in first. He came in well over the price, right? There were some contingencies on it, this and that. I won't get into it because it's still ongoing. But bottom line is this, okay? Guess, Celeste, what I ended up being the final price of this home. The final offer on this home.
430. What the lady.
Is he psychic? First one, you were right on the money.
430.
430.
30,000.
30,000 over.
And the first guy with the contract.
What's up?
And the first guy that came with the contract, he offered 31.
That's right. but not right off the rip. It was through the process, but yes. Okay, so that lets me know I did the process right. Okay, so that's what I want, is that attention. So when you list that property, Eddie, that's what you want. You get it. Oh, out of the 27 people, I'd say 5 of them had a realtor.
How do you know?
Because they didn't come with a realtor. They tell me. They didn't show up with a realtor. The realtors usually go with them, right? But if not, and they're a good client, they tell me, hey, my realtor's on his way. My realtor didn't make it. They wanted me to go check it out. Like, there was a guy that I know I'm friends with. He sent his people without him being there. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, yeah, I know him. Cool. I'll contact him. No, yeah, I mean, I'm respect, I'm, yeah, if you come with a realtor, it's fine. I mean, if you don't come, I respect representation. What I'm telling you is that that's 20 or so people, 22 people that are either sellers or buyers that I can directly work with. And guess what? They're not just any kind of buyers. They're 400 and up buyers. And this is the pro tip. Some of you guys who are new are going to chase small deals with a lot of crap and emotion because you're not confident. Stop it. Those deals are harder than a deal that's priced higher that'll make you more money. Okay, you go chasing after 150 deals, 175 deals. If you think you're a 200 grand agent, you always will be. If you think you're a $500,000 agent, you will be. If you think you're a 750 agent, you will be. If you think you're a luxury agent and you want to go $1 million and up, will be. I like the pocket from 350 to about 600. You know why? Because when you get into even higher ranges, you get less funnel, right? You get less people have that kind of money. So those houses sit a little bit longer, usually, unless you're giving them a deal. But in that pocket, there's a good amount of buyers, and I like those checks. You know, $500,000 check, you're talking about 15 grand, 3% commission, 30 grand total if you get both sides. So I like that. You can do, all that's going to happen is you chase those small dramatic deals. This is the worst thing that can happen to you. You chase a small dramatic deal, you get it closed, and you're going to get even more depressed when you get paid. Because you will have done a ridiculous amount of work with a very emotional person, and you're going to get a very small check, and you're going to start thinking real estate ain't for you. I'm telling you, watch this shit happen. All right, so let's get into it. All right, 12015 Fossaway Street, okay? This is from my boy Ben Million right here. So look at this Imap right here. Look what you can see from this, guys. That's why I love Imap. Okay, current owner, I got Jennifer Marie Gonzalez Torres. Is your people? Eddie? Torres? No? Okay, 16 names. Love it. Love my people. So we got the owner's name. We got, you can look here on the left-hand side and see acreage, how big the lot is, right? So we got a 0.26 acre lot, about a quarter acre, pretty standard. I can look here and see what they bought it for. You know, they bought it in 2017 for $404,700. Okay, it's good to know. Not something I need to throw in the seller's face at all, but the thing is sometimes, you know, well, one, you want to know what they bought it for because you're going to kind of get a gauge on how much room they have, right, and how much equity they have in their property. But if somebody's trying to sell this for $600 and they're being unreasonable, you're like, dude, you're trying to make $200. I mean, you bought it for $400. Like, you should price it correctly, even if it's, you know, $100 grand over. You should be, you know, you should be. I would never say that to a seller, but I just like to know in their mind. I'm like, is this person just like really crazy? Like, that, are they being greedy? Like, they're trying to overprice it to make an extra $100 grand when they're still going to make $100K on their property. Like, dude, you bought it in 2017. You know what I mean? Just a good thing to know. And then here's the important part, guys. Here's the specs. Now, if you don't see this on your Imap, take a look at this show report selection right here and make sure you have the things clicked that you want to. If you don't see what I have right here, it's because you didn't click it. Okay? So you can see that I've clicked show, you know, area schools, building information, show all these different things. So I get to see this stuff. So here we go. We've got a 4-bedroom, 3. So write these things down, guys. 4-bed, 3.5 bath. Okay. So we got a 4, 3.5. Okay. I'm looking at square foot heated. I'm looking at 3,070 square feet. Okay. So these are my specs, right, guys? looks like it was built in 2017. So it was brand new in 2017 when they bought it. So it was new construction in 2017. Good to know. All right. Let's see, stucco and cinder block. So it's a block home with some stucco. Looking down here, garage, covered parking. Doesn't look like there's a pool. No, pool, no. Okay, so I'm feeling good about this. We know it's 0.25 acres. That should be pretty standard for that neighborhood. Okay, so let's get into the comp for this now. Now, we could do a couple of things before we do that. If they have it here, if they have photos, let's see, detail report, building sketch. No, it doesn't look like they have photos in here. Sometimes they have building photos. So they'll actually have a photo of the exterior here. But let's do what I like to do before I go to a listing and just go Google Maps, right? To just see what this property looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this address here, if it'll let me copy it. Okay. Copy that, and I'm gonna go to Google Maps. Let's take a look at what this neighborhood looked like. If it's a gated neighborhood, you might not get a street view. That happens sometimes. But pulling this up, bam, bam, bam. Let's see. Hey Ben, is this a gated neighborhood?
It's Lorette.
Gloria Park. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, they might not have a street view for this because, you know, there's a gate to get in. So, you know, the people at Google can't get in. Okay, so we don't have exterior, but it's Laureate Park. I do know that area. That's Lake Nona. Those houses are pretty nice. Okay, so let's just get to the comp then. Let me show you how simple this can be, right? So first and foremost, let me go back. So you want to go search. So let's take a look at this search tool here and all these options. I told you, MLS is awesome, okay? You can look at a lot of different things, okay? Residential is your typical home that's for sale for a primary buyer to buy, right? So that's usually the one that you're gonna use for something like this, okay? But if you look there at all the options you have, you can search for commercial properties. When it says income, what it's saying is properties that are for sale but have renters or rental income, okay? This is good for you to know. Because sometimes when you're looking for an investor or somebody else, right? If they're an income, it means, hey, it has a tenant in there. It's not for you to move into. It's for you to buy as an investment, as a rental, right? So for the traditional buyer, you're going to want to stay in residential detail search. And we'll get into that in a second. But if you're working for an investor, you might want to search in the income one too. Because he might be like, hey, I'm good with buying this property right now till this renter gets out. Or, hey, I'm looking for what they call buying a hold property, which means I do want to buy it to hold it and get the rental income. So don't miss out on that income one. But let me show you a trick. So you see you can do commercial, income, vacant land. If you scroll down to where it says cross property means it searches for all of them at once. So if you're ever like, hey, I want to search for not only residential, but residential income properties, then you want to do a cross property search, and then it'll give you all of the options rather than do just a residential search. Does that make sense? Okay. So, and it'll search for commercial. It can search for land, all of it. And you tell it what to search for once you get into it, but it's a kind of like a holistic search. And by the way, I use this a lot now because we're obviously in EXP, we're agent attraction. Guys, you can search for agents. If you're like, hey, I don't have that agent's number, or I want to reach out to that agent, or I want to invite that agent to one of our events, guess what? If you go to agent search, you just put the person's name in, you get their cell phone, you get their email, you get everything, you get their office, you get everything that you want from them, right? So that's a good search, okay? But here's the one we're going to use right now is residential detail, okay? So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to bring us to this criteria page. Okay, so you'll see there's kind of like three columns. There's the left-hand column, there's kind of this middle section, and then this right-hand column. So first pro tip is like try to keep things general at first rather than get too specific and not get enough comps, right? I can always narrow down and get more specific. For instance, I might not put, I'm looking for only 3-bedroom, 2 baths. I'm just gonna do it by square footage. Why do I do that? Well, because I might get too specific and only get a couple of comps. Right? Where if I just do square footage, I'll get some 3.2s, some 4.2s. But if I see that I got 10 sold 3.2s, then I can maybe be more narrow in my search and say, I only want to look at 3.2s. But for right now, I just want to see what's happening in this particular neighborhood. And by the way, we're looking for just this neighborhood right now. There's no reason for you to go outside of a neighborhood when there's sales in the neighborhood. You're reaching now. You're trying to justify a price. Don't do that. An appraiser won't do that. If there's 5 sales in your neighborhood, they're not going to go to the neighborhood next door where they're selling the properties at 700 grand and try to bump your price up. They're not doing that. Remember, lenders order appraisals. Do you think a lender wants to lend you more money than a property's worth? No. And that's another reason that when you're talking to a seller, you don't overprice. Because most of the people that are going to come in here are going to be financed. And they're still going to have to get appraisals. And you don't want to have an appraisal issue. Let's price it right. Let's price it for competition. Okay, so here's what we do. Active, pending, sold. Okay, notice that pending and sold goes 0 to 180. That's 0 to 180 days. It does that automatically for you, 6 months back. That's the traditional time to look for properties. If we don't find any comps, we can stretch that out to a year and so on and so forth if we want to do that. And we might have to in some of these ones that we're going to do. So scrolling down, this is all I do. I click active, pending, and sold. Okay. I scroll down to special sales provision. I usually click none. Okay. What does that mean? When I click none, it's I don't want to see short sales, bank owns, or auction properties. Meaning I don't want to see homes that are in a distressed situation. Okay. So I'm going to click none. Now, if for some reason I don't find enough comps, maybe I take that off just to see what's been selling. Okay. But for right now, I'm going to click none. That'll eliminate any short sales, bank owns, auctions. And by the way, you might want to do that for your buyer searches too. So when you set your buyers up on a search, if you don't click none, they're going to get all of these too. And which means that, and now some of them might want that. Some of them like, hey, look, I'm looking for a project. I don't care what kind of property it is. I'm willing to wait. But if you have a client that's like, hey, I want to get into a property like traditional buyer, I'd like to be under contract in the next few weeks, close in the next few months, you probably want to click none because you want a property that has no issues, that you're not dealing with a bank, that you're not dealing with remodeling and repairs and all those, or an auctioned process, which are all different processes. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just telling you that if you're looking for somebody who's a traditional buyer who wants to move into a property quickly, you probably want to click none. Okay. Moving on. So now I'm going to put property style. Ben, this is a single family home?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you want to compare apples to apples. Laureate Park has a mixed bag, okay? So it has townhouses, it has condos too, I think. So we cannot compare condos to homes, townhouses to single families. We're going to do single family homes only because that's all I want to see in this comp because I'm comparing apples to apples. And that's all I do on this left side. Let's review. Active, pending, and sold. Pending and sold 6 months back, 0 to 180. It'll do that for you automatically. Sales provision, none. And the property style. That's it. Okay, so I got that narrowed down. Then I hop over to this side of the screen on the right-hand side. Okay, now we're going to go square footage. Okay, so all I do on this side is square footage. Unless this is a unique property where I feel I need to narrow it down. Like for instance, if it has a lot of acreage and I only want to look at properties that, if something has 5 acres, I'm only looking for properties that have that kind of acreage, not comparing a quarter acre property or whatever the case may be. But right now, just square foot heated. This is a traditional neighborhood. This is usually a good situation because we'll be able to very accurately compare properties. So you wrote down, Jonathan, what was the heated square footage? You'd write it down? No, the square footage of the homes, heated square footage.
3,070.
3,070. Somebody on the Zoom came in heavy on that. So I love it. I love like hearing voices. It's like God, right? So, all right, 3,070. So we're gonna here's 3,070. I'm just gonna subtract 20%. That's 614 less. So that's 2,456. So my bottom line. Hey, Celeste, can you let Kim back in?
I got disconnected.
Oh, you got disconnected from the internet? Okay. Hold on, Kim. I'm coming to save you. Okay, where's my back to meeting? Oh, here. Got you, Kim. You're back in the game. All right, so 2456 is the bottom range, okay? But I usually give them a little extra, so let's just do 2400.
God.
Second.
Just
Like some-
technology.
You're on Zoom, not on mute.
Easy. Just lost all what I needed to know.
Hey, Kim, you're not on mute.
Oh, sorry.
It's like those commercials, right?
Sorry. Yep.
It's all right, you know, just you know, curse all you want, Kim. It's fine. So we got 2400 is the bot. I just put 2400 even, bottom a few extra square feet. Okay. And then I take that same 3070 and I'm going to add 20%. So plus 20%, right, on my calculator. And I got 3684. Okay. So now I'm at, let's just say 3700. So I'm looking at homes only from 2400 square feet to 3700 square feet. Okay. So now I've got this narrowed down. Okay. So this is all you need to have for right now. We can get more specific, but there's one more thing you have to do. I want you to click this map tab you see at the top. You can get to the map a couple different ways. This map tab here will take you to the map. This map search up here will also take you there. Okay. And it's also down here on the bottom if you want to. Okay. But I'm going to go to the map here. And there's a really cool function called jump to address. It's right here on the top right. Okay. So I can drop, right? I copied the address. I'm going to drop that address right in there. And then when I press enter, boom, I'm zooming right into the neighborhood now. It just brought me to that house. Okay. So I'm already seeing some greens, some oranges, right? Okay. So you've already got this one listed, Ben, I'm assuming.
Do not.
Okay. Why is there, it must be the property right above it, the one that's active.
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
I think it's the same one.
Okay. Either way.
I think it's just a location marker.
Okay, so here we are. So you see this right here? This is this neighborhood right here. You can actually tell from these lines. You see how there's kind of like a dividing line right here? That kind of lets me know that this seems like a separate neighborhood from this side here. Okay, so I don't really want to look at anything in here yet unless I can't find what I want here. Now, one thing I am noticing here, all these greens are active, which means they're all for sale right now. Okay, I've got one pending, which gives me a little bit more clues because the property's under contract. Okay, but we don't know what it's under contract for, but we'll figure that out. And then we've got one sold property. This doesn't excite me too much because I don't have a ton of solds. You know, sold is really your best opportunity to really figure out what the value of a home is. But we got at least one sold, we got at least one pending, and then we got some clues from about six other properties. Now, one thing you can do if you don't get enough sales, the first thing I'll usually do is I can go back into my criteria. Okay, so I'll click back on my criteria, and maybe I go back, rather than 180, maybe go back 365 days. Let's try that. So let's just go to 365, see if we get a couple more solds. That'll make me feel better. Okay, look, we just picked up 2 more in the back of the neighborhood, okay, by going back a year. Now, is 6 months probably more accurate? Yes, but have things changed that drastically? Well, we had a pandemic, but that hasn't really affected, from what I've seen, prices all that much, okay? You know, I just got 27 people at an open house and 3 offers. So, I mean, people are buying, you know, and interest rates are at historical lows, which is another thing driving that, besides the fact that Orlando is awesome, okay? No. So let's go ahead and take a shape. Okay, so the cool thing is that I can use a rectangle shape and just kind of capture this whole area. So right now, it's showing me basically, if you look on the top left, it says 23 out of 5,000. That's because I haven't narrowed down my area yet. It's just showing me where I zoomed into, but it's not, I haven't narrowed it down to that neighborhood. What I want to show you is this. I rarely use this tool here, this circle, draw radius. I told you why at the beginning, because if I were to draw a radius right here, right? So if I were to click this and draw a radius to just capture this, I'm going to capture, look, If I do something like this, I just captured this neighborhood and this neighborhood below it. Those might not be the same type of neighborhoods, guys. So I really want to get specific about where I'm at first, unless I just can't find something in this neighborhood. But you can see I've got plenty of comps I can look at in this neighborhood. So I'm going to delete this shape, okay? And then I'm going to go back. And so if it's a weird shaped neighborhood, you can use this polygon here. If you click on this polygon, and you can just go do one of these and do like a weird shape, you know, like this, click, 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 okay? That's what a polygon done is. In this case, I could have easily done a rectangle and just captured that neighborhood, okay? So let's just keep it like this. So now, if you look on the top left, 10 out of 10. Now I've got it narrowed down to just these 10 properties, okay? So one thing I didn't have you do at the beginning is actually do your search display. So I won't spend a lot of time on that because that just takes a little while. But just know this. If you go back to your My Matrix up here, if you're looking at My Matrix, okay, and you go to settings, and then you go to search displays, you can create your own single line display that displays the columns you want. Let me explain that to you right here. So let me go to results and show you this. Okay, so you see this is my single line display. This is like almost like a really cool dashboard for me to be able to look at all the pertinent information on a quick glance, at least. Before I dig into each individual listing, I can just real quick figure out beds, baths, square footage, sold price per square foot, list price per square foot. Now, this is the way that they have it. This is kind of their default display, right? But you see there's all these columns. It's shrinking my screen so you can see every column, but really, if you were looked at this on a regular screen, you're gonna have to kind of scroll to the right to see everything. So here's what you can do. You can actually set a display if you go into settings and My Displays to show only the information that you want, okay? And in the order that you want it in. So let me show you what that looks like. I've created, if you see this drop down here, display, if I go down here, you see this says Bob's Comp Display. That's that I did that specifically the way I wanted to see the display. So now when I click it, it puts the property and the information that I want to see it in, okay? So let's take a quick look. So we've got these properties in the neighborhood, okay? Now ours is a 4.5, 3070 square feet, okay, built in 2017. Okay, most of these homes here are built between 2016 and 2018. That's pretty I mean, there's not going to be a major difference, you know, per se in a couple of years. So all these homes are kind of the same deal, right? We might even find one that's exactly the same size. Who knows? Look, there's one active for, well, yeah, it is actually for sale already. So I mean, look at this, Ben. Did you say that you were listing or somebody else is listing, or they're thinking about getting rid of that agent?
I think they're getting rid of them because they asked me to do a comps on it. They want me to look at it.
I don't think so, bro. I think they went with another agent because look, it's only been on the market 3 days.
That's unfortunate. That sucks.
Yeah, that sucks, right? I don't mean to burst your bubble. I could be wrong, but it looks like 3 days ago they listed it with this guy Felix Ramos. But we'll look at it anyway. Okay, so and this is like you said, this is the detective, right? We just figured something out real quick on MLS. Hey, look, because that's why when I zoomed in, I said, "Hey, is this listed already?" Because I saw the little green house over it, right? So that that's where they priced the property. But let's just ignore that one, and then let's just look at what else is sold in the neighborhood. Okay.
Well,
so,
I gave them a lower price than that. I think that's why they went with him. I said like 437. So I'm trying to see if I'm right or wrong.
Okay. Perfect. This is good. This is actually a really great example. Thanks, Ben. So let's look at this now. Look at the three solds. Okay. Let's just look at the three solds. We've got one that sold for $375. That was 2,400 square feet. So that's pretty understandable. But I got one that's 3,190 square feet. Ours is only 3,070. I mean, it's pretty much apples to apples. Okay. It's a 4.4. Ours is a 4.3.5. So it's probably a 4.3.5 as well. That one sold for $410. Okay. Then we got one on Northover Loop That's a 4.4 that sold for 410. That was listed at 419, sold for 410. So what was that thing that I mentioned at the beginning about when I'm looking at a neighborhood, right? There's this priced at 475. That's where they're listed at right now. They're listed at 475. I'm looking here, and there's been two properties, almost identical age. The lot size, the one thing that's different here is that your lot size is bigger, okay? And I don't know if that's, what that is. I don't know if that, let me just make sure these aren't townhomes. Because the lot size is small. No, it's a home. So let's go back to Bob's comp display. So one thing I do notice here, Ben, is that you see the acreage here. It's 0.17, 0.14 for these two. And the one that you were looking at is 0.26. I don't know if that's a freaking $60,000, $65,000 difference. I can tell you that.
If I paid a premium lot, probably like a 60-foot lot compared to a 40-foot lot.
Yeah, maybe.
It's not worth 60,000.
But just right off the bat, guys, remember, this is clues. I'm just looking at the initial clues, okay? Hey, look, man, houses in the same square footage sold for 410, and she's got her as the highest sold at 410. And she's got hers at 475, okay? Now, let's just take a look at the one that sold for 410. Actually, let's take a look at the one this is rarely happens where I can actually see what this property looks like on the inside. So this is the one that we're actually comping. So let's see what nice home on the outside, nice brick paved. Most of these homes are new, so they're going to look pretty new. Got carpet in the bedrooms. Nothing too special about that bathroom. Nice kitchen. Okay. So
Do you think that maybe the other one that was sold on higher price was facing the lake or something that was in the back?
Well, actually, it sold for a lower price than what they're listing. This one's listed at 475. This is the one that we're looking to comp right now. And the other one sold for 410.
Yeah, I mean, the 410 maybe was having better view. That's what I assume, because these look really good.
Yeah, but they're pricing this one $65,000 higher than the one that sold for 410 that you're assuming might be on the lake. That doesn't make sense, right? Because this one's not on the lake. So that's just taking a look at the properties. Okay, decent, no pool, little overhang, decent backyard.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And background, these people are actually trying to sell this one to buy a $600,000 house as well.
Okay, so what mistake could they be making here?
They're overvaluing it to compensate for what they want to have.
So you remember when I told you one of the things that when you price a home for a seller or especially for a seller, you also look at situation. Situation is, they want to buy a house right now for $600K. They might even have a contract on that house for $600K. You want to get cute with the price? No, you got to get aggressive with the price because you need to offer fast or you're going to lose your next home. Okay. That was something that you would be talking about. That's a good clue right there.
Get to it too, but that one was on market 368 days. How many price changes to go through to get the 375?
Right. So let's look at this one. Let's look at this other one. Smaller lot, went 410. And one thing that he mentioned, let's take a look at this. You see this ADOM, CDOM? That's average active days on market, combined days on market, 146 days this took to get a contract under. Almost 6 months.
How much is that one?
This one's the one that sold for 410. This one's the one that the highest sold in that square footage range. So let's take a look at this one. Okay. So this one, nice home.
I was thinking that the ones that we were looking at, it was 375. I just realized it was 475.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, exactly. Now it makes sense, right? So very clean.
I actually use this one in my comps as well.
You use this one?
Yeah, I use this one too.
Yeah, I think you have to. I mean, it's almost the same size. It's just a smaller lot, So okay, we'll make an adjustment for that, but 65,000 adjustment for that? I don't know. I don't think so. you know, no, not facing, this one's not facing the lake. It looks like it's the back of it. It looks like it's facing another lot that they're building on, which is interesting. Interesting. Okay. So remember, this one took 146 days to sell.
This one has better pictures too.
Okay, yeah, and it looks like a little cleaner home. So I told you, when you're looking at these, we're going to look at the original price. If you scroll that, what's cool about these listings, you get a lot of clues. Okay, so let's, you know, one of them is we could read, we could read all of this stuff here, you know, in the description, over 38,000 builder upgrades, you know, blah, blah, blah. These are basically new homes, so there's not anything there. But I do like to read the descriptions because they might have replaced a roof. They might have replaced the AC. Obviously, these homes are pretty much new. So we don't have any of that stuff in there. Nothing that makes it that much more special than another home, right? But we can scroll down here and see if there's anything. One, we can look at Realtor Remarks. So Realtor Remarks are only remarks that you guys see. Okay, so they might tell you something, some clue in there that the public can't see, only you can see. So easy to show, home is vacant, ELB, use showing time, $1,000 credit to buyer at closing towards refrigerator. So it doesn't have a refrigerator. Gates will open every day. Remember, I asked if there was a gate. That's why I couldn't get in that Google Maps. Okay. On Sundays, the security gate has a call box, blah, blah, blah. Sellers using a reload company. Please see attachments, all measurements. Okay. So when it says see attachments, this is what it's talking about. Scroll to the top of the listing and you see this little paper clip. That little paper clip lets you attach documents to the listing. So you're going to want to go in there. I told you, you need to read this stuff. There's attachments in there. So you got to go in there and read it. There might be some extra little hoops to jump through. Maybe this reload company thing is what caused it to be a little bit longer delay in selling this property, you know, but you're going to read into that. We're not going to do that. It's going to take too much time right now, but I do want to show you this one right here where it says original price, $429.9. So they started at $430. And when it went under contract, at when it was listed at $419, and then it ended up selling for $410. Okay, so just because it's listed for $419 doesn't mean they got offered $419. They didn't. They got offered less than that. They ended up at $410. Part of that was probably the fact it sat on the market for 146 days. Because guess what? Could they have potentially gotten an offer sooner if they would have listed at $419 from the rip? Maybe, right? Those are the things we're going to figure out. So what did they have to do? They had to lower the price. Okay. Now, if you ever want to know what's happened so we know that they started at $429 and we know that they ended up at $419 and then we know that they sold for $410. One other thing you can look at is one, you see that it says seller credit right here in the center of this page. You can see if there was any credits to there. So let's say right now it says 0, but what if they had asked for closing costs of $5,000? Did they really sell that property for $410? What did they sell it for, Jonathan? If they had a $5,000 towards their closing costs, if the buyer asked for $5,000 towards closing costs, they offered $410, asked for $5,000 in closing costs from the seller. What did they really sell that property for?
405.
405. Okay, it's good to know, because it didn't really sell for $410. Okay, in this case, it did sell for a true $410. Now,
Where do you find this again?
right here, it's not here. It doesn't say it. You see right there where it says seller credit 0. There was no credit. I'm just saying, for example, if there was one, that's where you would see it. You see where the arrow is right there?
Yeah, that's long days to close. 195 days.
Days to close, 100. Holy crap. That has to do with the reload company. So this is a clue that maybe this did sell for a little lower than it had to, right? So I'm not totally against this 437 price yet. So let's keep that in mind, Ben. I'm not against that price right now because this looks like a unique situation.
It looks like we're still building. That one photo had.
Yeah, it looks like there's some new homes coming up, which is another thing you're going to have to take into consideration. You're going 475. Ben, do you know what somebody can get that same home for brand new construction?
I'm not sure. I'm thinking that they're in the 440s, 430s, brand new.
So you're going to list yours at 475, and you have to sell it, right?
The new one is 435.
And you can buy brand new in the neighborhood for 440.
With the builder brand.
And
Okay.
so, like, the way I explained it to her was, okay, so the max we can do is probably 440, including some incentives to the buyer. But I don't think that I told her plainly, like, like if we go any higher, it's gonna sit on the market for a while, and it's just gonna devalue the property.
You played it perfectly, Ben. That's exactly what I told you guys to do at the beginning, guys. I'd rather him walk away from this because Felix Ramos is the first guy. Felix Ramos needed a listing, and he said yes to some shit that doesn't make sense. Okay? If you can buy new for 440, nobody's going to want your used home for 475 with pink walls that say somebody else's name on it and other fucking people's pictures on there and all this shit. It doesn't make sense. And this is what I'm telling you. I know that this comes with overtime repetition, guys. Don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you that you're not a failure if you let somebody push you around at the beginning because you're not confident enough. But I'm gonna tell you, once you lose 6 months of your life and watch this happen enough, you won't do it. You move on to the next one. There's other clients out there waiting that want your help. Okay, don't spend time on something that doesn't make sense. But let me show you something real quick. You see this right here on the bottom when it says click on the arrow to view history information. Right here on the bottom, right there. This is really cool. If you click that, it actually tells you when everything happened. Right. So let's go back to when this whole thing started 146 days before. Right. So they listed it new. You see where it says new? That was when the listing came on the market. It came on the market on January the 2nd, 2019 for $429.9. Okay. There was a price decrease. The next one up right here on January the 31st, 2019 for $424. Okay. So this is that game that we didn't want to play, that losing leverage game. Okay. So they waited a month and they dropped it. Then, it looks like, it looks like it expired. I think that might have been a mistake. So it expired 3/14. Let me see if somebody else was on that. So if you click here, you'll see the listing.
You also have on the history that they listed last year in June for something. So it's 6 months after they maybe rent up, put it back in the market.
Okay, good. No, same guy. Okay. So this what probably happened here is he probably did a 3-month listing, forgot to renew it, and then it expired. Then he put it back on the market and decreased it 3 days later, 3/17 to 4/21. Then looks like it was back on the market. Oh, it's the same day. So it went back on the market because he had to put it active again. And then he also decreased it to 421.9. And then on 423, they dropped down to 419. And then it took them about a month, a little over a month to finally get a contract on it. And then ended up being for 410. Okay. So it was about a 2-month closing, a month and a half closing. So that's pretty cool. I kind of know what happened here just by looking at this listing. I know what happened here. We know that there could have been a situation with this particular deal. So I'm spending a lot of time on this, guys, because it doesn't matter what the comp is. All the fundamentals are the same. If we don't get to everybody's comp, it's okay. By the way, guys, I'm recording this. Number 2 is I have a video on doing comps. If you go to jointdp.com, join TDP, that's Talent Development Program. jointdp.com/videos. I already did a video on how to do a comp. Okay. So if you ever need to review, refresh, but I will put this class up again. I'll put it on the Facebook page or whatever. Okay. But I'm spending a lot of time because it's all the same fundamentals. Okay. So let's go back. Let's look at a couple other ones. Okay. So let's look at this one. This one sold. This was a 44390 sold for, actually, what do you notice here? So this one sold for 410. This one sold for 395. But what's going on here? Well, the price per square foot is actually higher on the one that sold for $395, right? Because it's a smaller property. Okay, the price per square foot was higher, right? So so we're taking a look at this one. Let's take a quick look. Nice home. You know, all the homes in here are going to be pretty nice. They're new. Okay. Pretty clean, standard. Nothing, you know. By the way, vacant homes sell faster and for more, right? So, you know, when you have to work around an owner occupied property or tenant property, it's always going to be tough, tougher, not impossible. I'm just saying, just know that if you can get a property vacant, get it. Nice back area. I like this. Looks even better than the other one's back area for sure. Looks like they had a little fire pit or something, or these two little deals. This is nice. This is, to me, this is nicer. Okay. This one still took 107 days to sell to get under contract. It said the list price was $410, but let's scroll down and see what they started. Original price was $425. Okay. I don't believe that this home here is, I mean, besides the fact that this lot is smaller, I don't see this home being any worse looking. Matter of fact, I like this home probably better than the one for $475. I mean, that's just my personal thing. I like this back area way better. I mean, most of these houses look almost exactly the same. They have nice upgrades and things like that. So all that I'm seeing for that one that we think is overpriced is just the fact that their lot is bigger than everybody else's. But I don't know that I would pay $65,000 more for a lot in a traditional cookie cutter neighborhood. I'd pay 65 more if I was getting some acres, but another, another whatever, half of a quarter of an acre. I'm not feeling it. Let's see. Anything in the Realtor Remarks? No, nothing there. Once again, they started at $425. You can click down, look at the history. Went new on the market at $425 in January 2nd, 2020. Decreased to $415 on 3/5. Taken off the market $415. Something happened there. Back on market on 4/9. Decreased to $410. And then finally went pending 5/1. So everything here is telling me, Ben, that, you were pretty spot on. So here's what we're going to do real quick. So now we'll take a quick glance. Let's take a quick glance at, look, we've got a property that's 374. Now, granted, it's way smaller than yours, but here's a one for 374, 284 days on the market. Still hasn't gotten the contract on it. I've got one for 4.3, definitely smaller than yours, for 439. Also, all these price per square foot seem very high to me when you look at what's actually sold. So look at this column, guys. Sold price per square foot. This is probably the most important number on a comp, that I'm looking at, because it helps me come up with something, right? So the highest price per square foot sold on a home of this size in this neighborhood is $150 a square foot. But take a look, that was a 2,490 square foot property. That's considerably smaller than your property. As square footages go down, naturally prices per square foot tend to go up. So I would make that adjustment. I wouldn't go 150 apples to apples on my 3,000 square foot house, but let's just do it for shits and giggles to get a number in our head. So I'm going to take the highest price per square foot that sold, 150. So Celeste, you're going to do this with me. 150, okay, is the price per square foot. Our square footage for our home is 3,070. I want you to tell me what that would make our price. You don't do it in your head. Use your calculator.
Okay, I was like, it was weak.
Okay,
Or
3,070
60.
square feet is our property, and we've got a property. The highest price per square foot in this price range is 150. Okay.
460K.
460,000. Okay. So this is where they're kind of getting their pricing from, right? They priced it actually $4 a square foot higher, but here's the deal. The other two that sold were at 121 and 123, a pretty drastic difference. And the ones that sold for 121 and 123 a square foot were actually my size. You know what that tells me? Is that I'm probably closer to the 120 something price range, because that home was 600 square feet smaller than mine.
Could we count that?
As price per square foot gets smaller, usually, as square footages get smaller, usually price per square foot goes up. because people aren't willing to pay that much different a price for the same 4.3, even if it's 600 square foot smaller. So what happens is shoots the price per square foot up, and then you might think you should price this at 154 a square foot, and then you're going to be sitting there on the market for a long time. So let's take the second highest. Ben, mute yourself for somebody there. Mute somebody. You're not. I haven't let you in. Okay, calm down. I don't like the way that sounded. Okay. So let's take 123, which is the next highest price per square foot. Okay. Let's take 123 a square foot. Let's look at this property. It's almost identical, right? 4.4, 3190 square feet, a little bit bigger than ours, right? So 123 a square foot. Okay. Don't nobody on the Zoom answer it. I want Celeste to do this. $123 a square foot. And our home is $3,070. Tell me what the price would be. $377,000. Now that's a pretty big difference, huh? Okay. So now we're thinking to ourselves, okay, well, technically I could justify this at 460, but here's a property, 4.4, spent a long time on the market, sold for 395. Okay. So all of these started higher than ours. But I'm looking at this neighborhood and, you've got somebody here at 3,600 square feet. That's $158. Hey, let's look at what's happening in this neighborhood active wise. Here's one, 3,600 square feet. So it's about 600 square feet bigger than ours. Okay. It's a 4.4. And they want to sell this for $577,500. Okay. Now I can get a 4.4 in there, just smaller, for $395,000. But somebody thinks that they can sell just because they could justify it. They think they can justify it, right? Even though I'm looking at this and nothing sold over 150 a square foot. But they want to price theirs. It's bigger, and they want to price it higher per square foot instead of lower per square foot, like I just told you when there's a switch in the square footages. So as homes get bigger, the price per square foot should be falling, not going up. So they priced it at 158. Well, what's the result, guys? Take a scroll all the way to the right and tell me what the problem is. Tell me what the problem is, Jonathan.
It's still on the market.
For how long?
Almost a year.
Almost a year it's been on the market. Guess what, guys? You keep counting the years. This shit ain't selling at 577.
Somebody needs to call him.
Huh?
Somebody needs to call him.
Yeah. Right now, guys, you can call. Yeah, you can call them. I mean, that's the thing. When somebody's out of their mind or they got a bad agent, what are you going to tell them? I mean, what do you tell us? It's 300. You're on the market for almost a year, sir. When do you actually want to sell it? Or this could be somebody who's just fishing, right? They're just like, I don't really need to sell. I just want to see if I can price it at 600 grand and see what happens. This is what happens. You're just going to sit there for 306 days. I hope you didn't really want to sell it, because that 306 days ain't going away on the MLS unless you leave it off of the market for 61 days. I'm going to be able to look that property up and see it was on the market for 306 days. Unless I keep it off and then reset the clock. But I can still see the history. That's a dumbass thing to do. But here we are. Same neighborhood, 500. I can get there's a 4.4 that sold for 395. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing, these guys think that they have a quarter acre lot. Maybe no. Sorry, 306 days. Yours just went on the market. They haven't felt the pain yet, Ben, but they'll feel it. They're only 3 days on the market. They got a little ways to go.
Yeah, I sent her a message letting her know that if this doesn't go through, the price that I gave her is still holds, and I can get it sold within 14 days, which is the average days on market if you price it the right way.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not even sure 437 is the right price, to be quite honest with you. I think I think you might even have to go lower. I mean, I don't know if I'd go over maybe 419.9 on something like this, you know, because remember, it's not just about what I can justify. It's about how many eyes I can get on it. Once again, if I can buy a new house in this neighborhood for 440, would I spend an extra 20 grand to get a new one? Probably, you know, unless you got something like mad special, which could be, because it could be the lot, right? And then maybe there's no other lots in this neighborhood that have a quarter acre and all the rest are 0.14, 0.16. Could be. So I'm leaning towards even a 419.9 because I want to get people to see it at least. You know, I don't know anybody's going to see it at 475. Doesn't make sense. And there's a mad inventory. We just saw there was lots that were still building. I mean, I don't get it. So let's keep looking down the list. Okay, we've got one here that's 3,500 square feet, so bigger. It's a 5.4. It's a 5.4. $450,000 is the list price. It's got the same quarter acre lot. It's been on the market 64 days. Now look at the asshole at 577 again. Okay, so you're telling me now that I've got a property that's maybe 100 square foot different than yours, okay? It's a 5.4, not a 4.4. Same lot size. Been on the market for 64 days, and you want to price yours at 577.5. I don't know what world that makes sense in. I mean, I could literally buy the same size home with an extra bedroom for 450, and people still aren't doing it. They still aren't doing it. Now, we can look at that property and figure out why, because I'm like, okay, well, look, that's a good price per square foot, 126. He seems like the only sane guy in the bunch right now at 126 a square foot. Everybody else is overpricing, right? So, except for this guy here. This guy, well, no, this guy's been on the market 284 days. Holy shit. All right, let's take a look at this dude's house. I'm just curious. And then we'll just do one more because we probably beat this one to death. But I'm just wondering why this hasn't sold. Okay, so nothing special in the back. You know, I don't know about those floors. I think this is probably one of the less attractive ones. It's not in bad shape. It's practically new, but
Again, the photos on this one.
yeah, that's a bad agent too, right? Okay, so let's stop at this one here. So a couple pro tips on this picture. Okay, number one is unless a bathroom is spectacular, they usually don't help. You know, it just don't help you. Like, I don't need to see toilets. And you know, sometimes people do even dumber shit than this, right? They'll leave the toilet seat up. They'll take a picture with their phone like they did in this picture and be actually in the mirror doing this. I've seen everything.
Let me ask you, is it better for the house to be vacant, like has a lot of stuff, like this empty?
Vacant almost 100% of the time, unless it's some huge house that you can't picture things in and you want to stage it. But having other people's family photos, other people's tastes, other people's furniture makes it harder for somebody to picture themselves in the home. And if it's vacant and it's on lockbox, I can see it anytime. And that's one of the things I'll teach you guys in the listing class is access is one of the main things that's going to sell you a home. If it's vacant and I can see it anytime, it's way better than when I have to make an appointment for, right? So, okay, so here's another pro tip. Guys, if you're going to take pictures with your cell phone, don't take them like this, take them like this. Because you see how this picture didn't fill up the whole screen? It just looks unprofessional. Look at the difference. Whole screen, camera phone vertical. It's a simple thing, but trust and believe it looks way better, okay? So a little pro tip. Okay, so this house is not that attractive, so that's part of the reason it's not selling, but price per square foot is decent, you know? Let's look at one more because I'm curious. This one here is just bothering me. Well, no, that's 150. It's at 374. That's a high price per square foot. But that house hasn't sold for whatever reason. So, you know, like I said, on this one, maybe 419.9. This is not an exact science. Guys, like I said, I'm kind of feeling this out. But I don't feel bad about the fact that, you know, he didn't get this because they haven't been, you know, knocked in the mouth yet. So I'm glad he reached back out. That's what I like about Ben. He took action, right? While we were on this thing, he took a chance to tap. And by the way, you're going to want to keep doing that, especially if you lose a listing, because, you know, we know what's going to happen. Okay. This is how I started my career back here. Somebody chose somebody else, overpriced it. And Gil told me, don't give up. Every 2 weeks, you need to call that person. Every 2 weeks, you need to call them, see how things are going. Guess what? The pain starts to build. And then they start to bitch about their agent. And then they eventually were like, you know what, Ben, we should have gone with you. And then they're going to give you that listing, but you're going to have to price it a little stronger. Okay, let's do the next one, and then we'll finish it up. This one will go quicker. Hopefully it'll be now that you see the fundamentals, guys, is this starting to make some sense to you guys? You're going to have to do this over again. This is repetitions, right? And by the way, what's cool about this is you can practice any freaking time you want. Just pick an address. you know, you don't have to wait for a deal to learn this. You know, your homework tonight is to do 3 comps. There you go. I'm giving you homework. Okay, next address.
Thank you, Bobby.
Yes. Wait, hold on. You went to 5739 Arnold?
Yeah, and then the next one.
Arnold Slug. Hey, you're not going to sell this because the name's weird. I'm going to tell you right now. Okay. And that's what city?
She didn't give us a city. She just gave us.
All right. Well, I would like to know the city so I can know what county to look it up. And is it and ask her if it's a listing or a purchase?
She said it an hour ago.
All right.
It was on the Facebook Live.
It was on the Facebook Live?
Then put another one up.
Okay. If you're on the Facebook Live, right? You said it was Tina?
Yeah.
Tina, if you're on Facebook Live, I'll do yours if you tell me if it's a listing or purchase. I can find out where it's at city-wise, but let's just do hers because I can just go on the Google Maps. All right, let's go Google Maps. Okay, figure out where the heck Arnold Slaughtoff is. There it is, Orlando. Okay, so once again, if I don't have any picture of the outside, this is a place where we can find it. Doesn't look like we are going to have the luxury of an exterior photo here, at least with the Google Maps. Could be another gated neighborhood. Where is this at? Central Florida Parkway.
She said she's done open houses for it, and the feedback she got was that
Overpriced? Okay, cool. All right, so this is already listed. We'll do another one like this. Same thing. We're gonna kind of get to cheat a little bit because it's already on the market. But that said, same thing would happen, right? If this was a listing, I would go in there and let's do a new search. Orlando, yeah. So same thing. You know, I would put 5739. I could probably just put Arnold and it'll come up. So there it is. So, you know, I can get some clues here too. The current owner is Global Marketplace Investment LLC. Is this a flip, Tina?
She said it was a listing, but she said it was
Okay, so could be, look, Global Marketplace Investment LLC sounds like somebody's flipping that, right? Somebody bought that, maybe remodeled that. Just could be true, could not be true. Just kind of put it in my mental notes. I'm doing my detective stuff, right? It does say it has building photos. Let's see if it shows. So you see here on the top right of Imap, if it says building photos, there's a chance that we might be able to see some photos. Oh, there it is. So we got some photos. At least we know what it looks like on the outside. You know, look to the flip. Okay. Okay. So, so let me go back to the detail report. So this is where we would look it up. Like I said, it's already listed, so we have all the specs, but let's go ahead and write them down. Let's go through the motions. Okay, so here's the building information. We've got a 4.2.5. We've got 1869 heated square feet. Built in 1995. Looks like a block home. No pool. And then the lot size is 0.1111 acres, 0.1117 acres. Okay. So under a quarter acre. Okay. So all we need to know for right now, I'm going to go ahead and copy this address because we're going to jump to it in a minute. And let's just see if we can go through this quick with the last kind of 20 minutes of class here. So let's go in here. What did we do last time? We went to search, residential, detail. Okay, so I'm getting out of this other search. And by the way, real quick, pro tip, if you ever do a search, okay, for either buyer or whatever, and you want to save that search with the same criteria, just go to save here and create a saved search. You name it, you put the client's name attached to it, and you can just click one button and go back to the same exact search again. You can also set up a new auto email on that jointdp.com/videos. I show you how to set up an auto email as well. Guys, you don't have to keep sending your buyers properties manually. You can just put them on an auto email and literally automatically emails them every time a new property pops up. If you didn't know that, you're a new agent. I just made your day because that is a lot of work. Okay, so research, residential detail. Okay, so what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do, Kiara? There you go. So, okay. What else? Good job. So, all right. Active pending sold, special sales provision, none. Like I told you, I don't want to see auctions, bank owned short sales. We're looking at a single family home. You just saw it. So we're going to click single family home. Okay. We're going to hop over here to the right side of the screen. We're going to do our little square footage range. We had 1869 square feet, I believe. So the range will be 1869 minus 20%. 1869 minus 20%. That's 1495. I'm gonna give them 1400 just to give them a little extra. Okay. And then 1869 plus 20% on my calculator gives me 2242. So I'm gonna do 2300. Okay. Then I'm gonna hop up to that map. I told you that map here, it's down on the bottom too. I'm gonna hop to the map and then I'm gonna paste that address that I had. Okay, boom. Now we're in the neighborhood. It's looking okay. It's looking like we got a few sales in here. This looks like all part of the same neighborhood because the roads kind of connect here. So I'm gonna kind of widen it out a little bit more. Okay. So, let me get back in there. Okay. Okay, so right now, this all looks like the same neighborhood. Okay, so I've got some 4 solds, which I like, and 1 active. This is pretty good. Once again, we're gonna take our shape. Don't use the radius like I told you. In this particular case, I can grab it with a rectangle easily. So I'm just gonna go ahead and snag these up real quick. Okay, now I've got 6 properties to look at. I'm gonna click my results, go to my single line display. You'll see that I gotta put my comp display back again. So I'm gonna go to Bob's comp display, and there's everything that I wanna see, okay? So let's take a look at the sold properties, okay? So theirs is a 4.2.5 or a 4.3. Okay, so 1869 square feet. Doesn't look like there's been any 4.3s that have sold, but here's a 3.2, okay, that sold for 305. Okay, it's decently similar price per square foot. So here's a sold price per square foot, 188. You could probably drop that down a little bit for a bigger home, but that took 9 days to sell. So, I don't see, if you look up here at the one that we're looking at, 5739, that's the actual active one that we're talking about. That's at $176 a square foot. At this moment, I don't necessarily think that's a terrible price, to be honest with you. It is a bigger home. It might not be, at least price per square foot wise, it isn't the worst. But let's take a look here. what is the next lowest price per square foot that's sold? The next lowest is 166. So sometimes when something's really high, there's nothing, I mean, there's a $20 square foot difference between the highest one that sold and the one. So what that tells me sometimes is sometimes you get outliers, like something that's not traditional for the neighborhood. And this is probably what they're basing their price on, because this one sold pretty quick. But it also is a 3.2 and it sold 305. Well, there's going to be more people in a 305 price range than there were going to be in a 330. Somebody might have thought, hey, look, this house is upgraded. I love it. Let's take a look at it. So I'm thinking that this is a pretty nice house because, look, it sold and it got under contract in 9 days. Okay. And it sold for the highest price per square foot. But what do you notice right here, guys? What do you notice? Somebody in the Zoom room.
It's listed for less.
It's listed for less. They drove the price up to 305. Remember the story I told you about the open house this weekend? Look what happens when you price something and it's attractive. It sells quick, and sometimes it sells for more if you get good competition. But we don't know. They could have bumped up the price. What could be another I don't know who said that on the thing, but what could be another reason the price got bumped up?
New roof, new AC.
True, but now I'm saying, why would it have gotten bumped up from a list price of $299 to $305 as a final sold price?
Multiple offers.
Yes, that's one. What would be another reason? This is a more difficult question. Somebody's got it.
They would probably put up the price because they had more contingencies like a pest control or fixing a fence, something like that.
Could be.
Oh, pay closing costs.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. So could it have been a situation where they said, hey, I will offer you full price because I love this home, but here's the deal. I need $5,000 towards closing costs. Okay. So if I gave them full price, $299, let's just call it even $300, and I asked for $5,000 towards closing costs, what am I really offering them? Say $295. So that will make my deal worse looking than maybe somebody else who they were competing against. So what could they have done in this particular case? They could have said, I'll offer you $305 with $5,000 towards closing costs so that you still net the amount that you want. Okay. So let's take a look. I mean, I'm making guesses. I'm based on numbers. I don't know what's happening in this listing, but let's take a look. Okay. So if you want to find out if they got closing costs for it, we're just going to go down to that seller credit section. Looks like they didn't. So they actually could have been a competition here where they drove this price up. So there was no seller credit. So it probably is a competitive situation where they priced it. And this home, let's look at some of these things. Look, waterfront, Arlington model, available and desirable. So it's waterfront. Okay, so that's something, right? Reading the description here, just looking to see if they did anything new. Blah, 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 incredible, mature, exotic landscaping, blah, blah, blah. Huge walk-in closet. Doesn't look like they, but it does have a pool and things like that. So let's take a look at this house. So, and then let's take a look at this house and then let's compare it to the one that's listed. So, you know, decent pictures. It's okay. It's pretty nice, right? So you got a pool overlooking water. Okay, now the clues, now it's starting to come into effect. Why did this sell more than everything else? Why did it sell this fast? Why did it sell for the highest price per square foot? Go ahead, Celeste.
So Mike has a question. He said, would you recommend sending building photos to a client or just let them look at photos from the listing?
When he says building photos, like,
I'm guessing the like construction. That's always said, building photos to a client or just let them look at photos from the listing.
ask him if if it's with a buyer. Is this with a buyer? Is it Mike you said?
Yeah.
Are you working with with the buyer and you're sending them, I mean, look, if you're working with the buyer, you want the best photos. I don't know how you would get other kind of photo besides like Google Street View or you driving past the property. These photos are good. So I absolutely would let them look at this property. You know, so most of the time I would say if you're working with a buyer, you're going to be using whatever photos that are on the MLS. But I'm seeing now why this one sold for more. This is a pretty nice home with a pool overlooking a lake. Okay. So very clean, well-maintained, nice closets, for this, for this neighborhood, I think that this is a pretty strong looking house, So we know that. So now, out of curiosity, let's go back and let's take a look at the one that's actually listed and see what it looks like. Okay. So that one that we just saw that sold for a high price per square foot was a 3.2, 1,600 square feet for $305. Now we're going to look at ours, which is $330. Okay. And let's take a look how it compares. Okay. So it's a corner lot, grass could be a little bit better. Looks like there's something funky happening in this driveway here. I don't know if that's a picture problem or if that's actually there. Tina, you can let us know. But right off the rip, I don't like the way this home looks on the front. Right? This matters. This is right when somebody pulls up, your first impression, and it looks like the driveway somehow faded and it's gone up onto the I don't know if that's like a picture problem or not. Like, cause it seems weird that there's like this paint, what? I don't know if like these guys trying to paint the driveway and then ended up painting their garage door too accidentally. I mean, it's something doesn't make sense here. Right? So we're picking up clues. This is a better shot. Okay. So, it's vacant. It's open. It's not a bad looking house. Kitchen seems a little shut in. A lot of people like open concepts. This looks like a very, has like a separate kitchen all by itself. Like a lot of people now like those open concepts where it's like open to the living room. There's a little window there I see, but okay, that's interesting. Okay, so let's talk about something. Is that the window that goes out to the area or what is that? Okay. So I think this is weird. Okay. Or it just looks weird. Like it's not something that I would see somebody want. So one thing that you have to take into consideration also when you're pricing a property, guys, is what I call quirks, right? Shit that's not easily changeable or not changeable at all that people are going to have an issue with. I'll tell you, I tried to sell 2 properties with actually this one that I just got under contract because I priced it right, got under contract, but it had a spiral staircase. Spiral staircases are a bitch. Like a lot of people don't like going up them and it's really hard to get furniture upstairs of a spiral staircase. That's a quirk. It's not an easy fix. You have to literally get a new staircase if it fits in the area that it's in. It could be a layout. I had a layout issue with this property that I just got under contract for 30 grand more. That's why I priced it that way. That property was you walk into the thing, you run into a 70s mirror wall, and then there's a living room on your left. There's a family room on the right, and there's a kitchen in the middle that's shut in. I mean, it's the total opposite concept of what people want. It's like literally boxes of places in the house. And I'm like, okay, somebody's going to want to tear all of this out and open this up, right? So that's a quirk. This to me is kind of quirky. Like, okay, so I've got a view to what, a wall? Like, I don't know why that there's an opening there, I guess to try to open it up, but it is a little bit weird. Yeah, they wanted to open it up, but it's a weird way to open it up. I mean, it's not what people necessarily want. This is an interesting shower tub combination. I don't know necessarily like the tile, aesthetically it's okay, but it's not something super special. So I'm looking at this, needs some updating, right? I felt the other property looked a lot better and also obviously had a pool overlooking a lake, right? So this looks, I guess they have a view, or is that just, it's weird. So let me look at the map. So right now, I'm not convinced that that's a water view because look, that's the back of the house. Where's the lake? Is it over here on the right? And by the way, that's not a lake. That's a retention pond. Doesn't look that doesn't look like the other water we just saw. This is like, look at the edges of this.
That might be the angle of the other house.
Maybe
That's in the same neighborhood.
it's in the same there. I'll tell you if it is or not. What
Maybe it's the angle of the other side.
could be, but I can find out, right? I click this little map. Okay. Doesn't even show a lake. Oh, yeah, it does. This lake. Oh, the other house must have been on this lake. Okay. And guess what? Look where it's at. Is it on the lake? Look at this. Look at the map.
Oh, it's not.
It's not even on the lake.
Not even.
Now they shot it.
Wow.
That's nice. I mean, it's close.
Then where's my leg, guys?
Yeah, it,
Oh.
Close, but you know, you're stretching, right? So let's go back to the comp display. Okay, so now we know that's priced at $330,176. So right now, there's one pending property on the market at $164 a square foot. They're at $176. Our outlier higher home, which we know is nicer, is a $188. Let's look at the rest of these prices. So let's look at, how about we take a look at this? Ours was how much? 1869 square feet. Okay, so one sold for $133 a square foot. That's the lowest. So let's not even take the lowest. Let's take the one for $160 a square foot. So tell me what, based on $160 a square foot, multiplied by my square footage, 1,869, what number that gives me. Just to get a number in our head, it doesn't mean it's the right number. I just need to have something to work off of. Anybody? Okay, me? All right.
Hey, Bobby, quick question.
Yeah.
Would you be able to, if they're comparable, if they're within the same range, would you be able to take the average of them and take out any outliers?
Yes, you can do that. You can absolutely do that. And sometimes I do if I'm not getting a good sense of, whatever. But, look, 160, 166, what do we got? 163? So I'm in there, I'm just, and I'm at 160 trying to get a number, but yes, absolutely. But the two outliers are 133 and 188. This one's $30 a square foot lower. This one's like $20 a square foot higher. So I would probably be averaging these two and get $163 a square foot. And that could be right on the money. I mean, it could be. Now here's the deal. These properties are smaller than mine, which means the price per square foot usually goes up when the smaller properties, which means mine could go down. So, it could be below 160 a square foot, my price per square foot, but I just want to use the bottom one, 160 for right now. Let's do 160 times 1869. So that puts me at 299,900. Okay. So, is that the right price or not? I'm not 100% sure. I could tell you that the highest thing that's sold so far in that price square footage is 305. Theirs is a bigger property in a 4.3. I'd be willing to give them a little bit more, but I wouldn't go, like you said, Tina, you're probably on point with that. I think maybe this is more of a 310 rather than a 330 property. It does have an extra bedroom. I'm going to give them some props for that. That's good. But compared to the one that sold, let's just be real. The one that sold for 305 is nice. Theirs is across the street from a retention pond. And it's not as nice. So all that in consideration, I'll be honest with you, now that I remember what it looks like now, compared to this, I might actually put it at $299.9, just so I can get people to go look at it and at least think it's a deal,
So the strength that you use is good. Like you lower it, like it's 200, right? It's 99. I say what you did with the other one.
Yeah.
399. That's a good.
Yeah. So this, I'm glad you brought that up. So I do that on purpose. So if I'm close to a major, I'll call it a major mile marker, right? So breaking the 300 threshold is a major mile marker. So if I think something's 305 or 310, but I'm not 100% sure, I tend to want to price it a little bit lower than that because it's just going to bring me more attention, right? And now I dropped it just under 300. So now 300 buyers will see it. Because if I get this wrong, okay, so let's give you guys a real world scenario. I'm approved for $300,000 max. Okay, I price it at 305 or 310. My searches are only going up to 300. Now, I might be willing to come up to 305 or 310, but on my initial search, I won't see your property. That makes sense? I won't see it because I said my max is 300.
No, when you say if you lower it, then you might have a serious buyer that is going to give you more.
That's right. And we saw it happen, didn't we? We saw one that was $299.9 and went up to 305. Okay.
Quick question, Bobby.
Yeah.
How would you go? Because this sounds like it's going to be really difficult, but I haven't experienced it yet. But what would you do in the case that you have multiple offers? Are you holding off? Are you telling the seller to like, hey, let's wait 6 days? Let's say every day we're getting a couple of offers, or we're getting one offer. What is the right thing to do in that sense?
That's a great freaking question. Great question. So here's the deal. First of all, that's a good problem. Okay. Getting multiple offers is a fantastic thing, right? You're in control. I'm, you guys know I'm inappropriate. I call that being the sexy bitch. You're the sexy bitch, right? You don't have to do shit for nobody, right? Because you're getting all these offers, you got all this attention, right? But at the same time, you got to be respectful, right? This is really more of an art. There isn't a right answer to this, right? Everybody does it a little bit different. I like to be respectful of whoever brought me an offer. I don't want to play games with them, but I am trying to get the highest offer for my client. Okay. And so, I let people know what's going on. So first and foremost, communicate with everybody who's giving you an offer, right? I just want to let you know, I've just gotten 2 more offers on the property. Okay. Now, each of those agents might start asking you questions. Where's that offer at? Whatever, just letting you know. I'm trying to be, because some people will get 3 offers. They'll just say, okay, just give me your highest and best by 5 p.m. tomorrow. And you could do that. That's something you can do. Hey, I'm doing highest and best. But sometimes you do want to let it linger for a few days in case you get a few more, right? So here's what happened to me this weekend, and then we'll talk through that. So, I got 27 people show up. I had 1 person show up with an offer. But I had a couple other people tell me that they were going to be submitting offers, right? So that, and then we're going to come back and look at it. Or I had some people, one guy before he even showed it, he couldn't make the open house, but he was bringing his client and said, look, I'm going to look at it after the open house. Please don't sell it before then, right? Because they knew I priced it attractively for that neighborhood. They hadn't seen the inside yet. I mean, besides the pictures, and the pictures look way better than what it really was, because I got a professional photographer, another pro tip, right? So I knew that I'd probably get a few more. So I waited. I kept telling them, hey, it's probably going to be at least till Sunday before we make a decision, or at least till, and I kind of pushed it off a few days. I didn't actually make the final decision till about 3 days later. I didn't do a highest and best. I just kept communicating. I had 3 offers. I just kept communicating with them, letting them know, hey, look, I got this offer. I got an offer. I said I had an above price offer, above listing offer. And I told the guy, look, I'm not trying to pressure you, but I'm just letting you know where we're at. So talk to your client. If you want to make a move, make a move. If not, don't. I'm okay. Like, I want to choose the best offer, and I don't want a big fight. But what ended up happening is that they just kept competing, right? I kept telling them that this is happening. Hey, look,
They wanted more.
I had 3. I'm being real with them. I'm not lying. I'm just telling them what's going on. Now, some of them get frustrated, by the way. I hate playing this game, but some of them get frustrated, like, oh, you're just using me to drive up the price. Well, competition drives up the price. I'm not using you. Some guy that try to text me and like say, well, what do I get for driving up your price? I was like, okay, so you're taking credit for this whole thing? I told him, you get 33% of the credit because you're one of 3 offers, but I don't know why you think you're the person who did this, right? Because, by the way, you're going to get a lot of different egos in real estate. So stay calm, be a nice person, be respectful, but get what you want, right? So anyway, I went to the lowest guy and I said, hey, right now you're the lowest offer. Just want to let you know, not telling you what to do, but you're the lowest offer. I got 2 other offers higher than yours, and one's over list price. Boom. Or I said you're the lowest offer. So that guy one guy went from 390 to 400, right? And then went back and forth. Another guy, remember at 404, another guy came in at 405. I'm like, okay, cool. And then there were some other contingencies on the other one. So you got to weigh everything out. It's not just about the price either, because somebody might have a contingency such as I have to sell my home first. Well, that makes your offer less attractive, right? So you look at the whole thing. Well, ended up happening is one guy, because they'll start talking to their clients and they'll say, if you really love this, we got to go aggressive at it. And one guy was really honest with me, say, hey, look, I'm going to put my cards on the table and let you know that they're willing to go up to 420. I thought he had won. I wanted him to win. I was like, you went hard at this. I was like, it's great. You got a good offer. I was like, dude, if you got 420, I was like, I'm going to make a case that this is, I didn't allude to where everything else. I never told them where I was. I just said over list. Okay. Don't tell people. You're not even supposed to tell them anything, but you say, hey, look, it's over list price. And they didn't want to lose it. So they went hard at 420. Well, I had no idea these other people would just they wanted it so bad that they're just like 430. And I was just like, and they couldn't go over 420. And I was just like, dude, I hate to tell, I felt bad about it. I was like, dude, I hate to tell you this, man, but somebody came over the top and, I was like, and I'm not gonna do, and I always put it on the seller. I'm like, this is the seller's decision. I made a case for you, but whatever the case. So, I say all that to say that you got to feel it out. If I feel like I'm going to get more offers, I'll wait and just, keep them at bay. Now, one thing I will say is don't get too cute because you don't want to lose offers either. You start looking like you're playing a game with people and you're not communicating with them. They're, some of them might be, I'm pulling my offer. Don't worry about it then. We'll move on. Right. So don't get too cute thinking, oh, I got these guys by the short hairs and I'm going to be, no, don't do that. So if you want to do highest and best and get it done over quick, cool. Or if you want to wait a couple of days and say, hey guys, everybody put their highest and best in. I didn't do that. I kind of did that individually. I would just say, hey, here's where the other offers are at. So I kind of did it that way rather than say, hey, by 5 p.m. tomorrow, give me your best. Because if I would have done that, to be honest with you, I'm not sure I would have gone 430. I think somebody would have just put whatever they thought was best at the time and then hope things were better. But as I kept communicating with each person, they kept pushing the price up, text and calls, combination of both. Yeah. I don't do that by email.
Emails for the list.
Everybody's different. I just want to reach people, I'm bad. Like, don't try to email me, guys. I'm not being good at responding very quickly to emails anymore because I just got to get away from the screen and like work in the real world. But so if you want to reach me, I'm the kind of person like, dude, if I want to reach somebody, I'm going to text them or I'm call them, right? It's too important. This is a check. If it's something you don't need a quick answer to, then you can email people about that, but don't rely on email. I would say you call or you text and then get on a call. And if it's something complex to talk about, I use text oftentimes because I don't want to say too much on the phone. I just want to get something from them. But if I'm having a conversation where I'm trying to get something and I know that my tone of voice and actually speaking to them and I need more details, make the phone call. It's too important. Don't rely on a text and somebody reading your tone on a text or an email wrong, because they usually do. Okay? Give them a call. It's too freaking important. Hey, I'm trying to negotiate for a deal for myself, and I call the guy. Hey, I know, building a relationship, use your people skills. And guess what? When you're trying to get information from people, don't text them. Call them. Because it's easy for somebody to give you limited information on a text because they don't have any pressure on them. When I call them and I'm on the other line and there's an awkward silence after I ask a question, they tend to fill it. Right? Right. Exactly right. So that's it, guys. This is, there's, two comps. I would say, Tina, for this one, I think they might be right. I think because of the look of that property, the one, I think and you can tell this, right? Everybody has different styles, but you know, the comparison between the interior of your property and the one that sold for 305 are drastically different in my eyes. In the interior, that garage looks like crap. That driveway looks like crap. They don't have a water view. They don't have a pool. I actually believe that 299.9 might actually be the sweet spot for this property. Somebody will look at this and say, hey, you know what? It's not as nice as the one with the pool and the lake, but at least I'm getting it at a decent price. And that's the calculation they're going to make. You know, that's what I would say. I would say, hey, this ain't, you know, as cute as this property and it doesn't have all the views, but I'm getting an extra couple 100 square feet and an extra bedroom. So I'm willing to pay this for the property. So, once again, guys, every situation is different. I've taught you fundamentals. You're going to, every situation, there's going to be some that's not going to, these were actually kind of easier in a sense, because you're in traditional neighborhoods. You're going to get some properties that are in weird places and they're not going to have a lot of comps, and you're going to have to make, you know, you're going to have to either go back farther in time. You might have to expand your areas. You might have to do certain things to try to get comps. But for the most part, if you are in a traditional neighborhood, you should get a good amount of comps, and you'll be able to do this. So hope this helps, guys. You know, very happy that I was able to be live in 3 places at once today. And then I am recording this, so I will send this out and put this on the Alliance Home Team Facebook. And you guys have a great rest of your Thursday. All right, guys, take care.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.